just good morning.
Good morning.
What we got? Good morning. Good morning. I don't know if everyone's in here yet. I don't know. It says we got no viewers. That's a good start.
That's a great. Although we've got two messages in the chat, so that's looking all right. It's probably at least 2 people in here.
Tasha's a bit keen, isn't she?
Yeah, she loves it, doesn't she? Bless her.
How are we all doing after, for me, a dead weekend? I don't know about everyone else, but dead weekend.
Such a bad weekend.
Do you know what's funny? Like the value wasn't even that bad. It was just the numbers were ugly, and I want the numbers to be good over the value because you can the value just.
If it's in any consolation, I have bad numbers on
bad value, bad
value, bad sales. Like it's not been great.
Yeah, it's not been pretty, to be fair. But I mean, on that note, it kind of fits the topic of today, which is eBay is dead, which is always a nice title to see whenever you wake up. But our point of view is kind of what we're going to be going over today is not making any sales, but not that it's not making any sales on the new stuff, but when your items kind of become dead on eBay and when your store kind of stagnates a bit because it's got loads of shit weighing it down, and you kind of, how'd you go about that, what you've done wrong, and kind of how to fix that problem and what people do, because I think it's interesting. We talked about it a bit before, well, not on here, but I just think it'll be interesting. So yeah, good morning all. Good morning. I hope everyone's doing well. Did you just say, Mel, you said morning all or not? That confused me. So me and Chris are in a bit of a clear out mode. We're in some is it spring cleaning? Is it
spring cleaning? Yeah, for
early spring cleaning. Because we have both gone on for ages about how our stores are full of rubbish. Like I think I did 450 items that are over a year. No, over 6 months old. And my store, for reference, is 1350 or something like that, up and down a bit, depends what day it is. And for 400 of that and 50 to be over 6 months old is a waste of space. It is an absolute waste of space. And I've looked at different like clear out methods before and got into stuff, but now I'm just like, it needs to go. It needs to get done. And I don't know about you, I started selling similar and reducing price, and I didn't do that for ages, to be fair. Like, that was really bad. Like I just listed the stuff and forgot about it, and then hoped it would sell at some point, right? Like that's the goal. And then obviously people talk about a markdown strategy. You go over time, you reduce it. I'm doing that for a few months now, and selling similar the first month and then reducing the months after, and it has made a difference. Like I went from not selling anything from my old stock very much to like at least 30% of my sales are stuff that's old, that's shifting slowly, and that's been great, to be honest. Do you have any sort of strategy before this? Like obviously we're going to talk about what we did now, but
yeah. So my old strategy, which I think I might reevaluate and redo, but so obviously there was like this pre-loved partner program thing, or like this program that people got a few emails and they got invited to, and you would have like a rep and you would talk to them and stuff. And my old method used to be, you know, when it comes up ending items today, so it shows you your ending items, it's after 31 days or whatever, right?
Yeah,
like, or whatever. In the cycle, so the cycle then renews, right? So my old strategy was, whenever there was, if it was 10, 15 or 100 items ending that day, I would end them all before they finished, go through all the titles, all the pricing, and do so every morning. Like after I'd listed my new stock, I would go in and end 42 items, whatever it is, redo every title if it was bad, and then go through pricing, making sure any item specifics are done. And if the pictures are terrible, leave it a little bit longer, go and read the picture and stuff. And I used to do that every single day, but obviously
on the month mark.
Yeah, on a monthly basis.
I feel like that's a bad shit.
Well, this is the thing, right? So when I was doing this, I was finding I was making, say it was 10, I might sell 1 or 2 within 2 days of doing that, right? Mm-hmm. Now that could just be coincidence, or it could be that it's worked, right? But when I had this eBay rep, she was like, oh yeah, you shouldn't do that. Definitely not. You should only do it after the 3 months is up. So let the 90-day cycle kick in. If it then does it, knock yourself out. You can do it. It's all good. But what happened is because I wasn't doing it daily, I've completely forgot about it. And then when I went into the store recently, after we've had discussions, there was 224 items that were more than 4 months old.
That's nowhere near as bad as mine.
So yours is obviously a lot heavier in terms of the numbers, but yeah, so that was when I was like, oh, okay, right, now what do? Do I go back to doing it daily? But obviously that ends after a month because I felt like that was working for me. Or do I just every day go into the oldest ones, and then like just before it hits maybe like anything like 3 months or close to 3 months or older, maybe every day I just take those little few off and then just keep recycling that way. Maybe that's the best way.
When you were doing the 31-day thing, was this before or after your titles were terrible?
Oh, so this was before. This was
you were looking at the bad titles and continuing to make terrible titles.
No. After, so after the right. So when I realized that my titles were terrible and I started improving my title structure, I was doing it before this, but then I was like, so my titles were bad, and then I was making changes, and then I learned my title structure was bad. So then I changed a lot more on a more consistent basis, and now I feel like my titles are. So this is the interesting thing as well with the titles is that I feel like everybody's having the same title. So when I look at the title structure, I go, well, if my title structure is the same as Benji's and we have the same item, like nothing's differential there. So it's who's going to pop up? But that's another topic for another day, probably. But yeah, so now that my title structure is better, there will be a couple that slip through the net. So like the missus does a lot of it on her phone. I don't like it doing on the phone. I think the computer is the best way to do all drafts, but she likes to sit and do the drafts willy-nilly. And as I'm not doing them, not going to care, don't care. But occasionally it means that like when you're manipulating the title on a phone, it's a lot harder and stuff like that. So sometimes
if you can chill and do it on your phone, then it is what it is.
Yeah.
But that's what I was going to say though. If it was after and you were saying it was working, maybe it's because you were changing from bad to good.
I think that's what it was. I was improving the titles at certain points. Mm-hmm. So that's probably when I had the most impact, right? When I realized the title structure, I mean, probably around when I joined Tech's Call like group, right? It was like, then I realized, there's a big difference between a good and a bad title. Like there's infinite difference. So that's probably when I saw the most impact was when I joined the group and then went, all right, cool. Now I realized that manipulating it. And then obviously if you sell similar with a much better title, the likelihood is it's more likely to sell, right?
Yeah. Plus you get that new listing boost.
Yeah.
What was I going to this conspiracy? Do you think there's anything to be said for like? I think I've heard people mention it. I think Crystal's mentioned it. Someone who had an eBay rep said that dead listings not only like are dead themselves, but weigh your store down. I don't know if anyone said like.
I've heard this.
Can someone confirm that? Can someone confirm if someone has said that? Because I can't remember. Do you think there's any weight to that? I feel like it's.
I actually do to some degree, right? Because
really.
And it's not based on the fact that you've got dead listings like that, right? So if you look at your views, right, and you've got 100 items that have got 20 plus views, and then you've got 500 that have got 0. It's not necessarily that they're weighing your store down, but you've got 500 items that nobody wants essentially, or is nobody's looking for. So it's not necessarily that they weigh your store down and then reduce the quality of the like people wanting the better items. So it's not bringing your store down in that way. In my opinion, it's just filling your store with stuff that nobody's searching for. And therefore, you're obviously not going to get as many sales because your store's full of stuff that isn't.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that like in my head, weighing down means it's negatively impacting the rest of your sales. Whereas that's just like you're not going to get those sales because you've got bad items. Whereas you're still going to get the sales on the good items, even if these 90 days are weighing down your store, as quote unquote. Because Alma said it was said to me. I think Alma, you mentioned it the other day.
Yeah.
And then even Kaylee said it got mentioned to her, but also the eBay reps don't know what they're talking about half the time, which is fair. It depends who you get. A lot of the time they don't.
Some are really good, but some are not good.
I've had one that's good, I think. Yeah. I haven't even talked to that many, to be honest with you, so I can't even count. But yeah, I don't see how the negative. I guess unless it's saying, oh, this store isn't good because their items aren't selling, so we won't give this person priority in listings, is the only thing I can think of that would cause you to have like a negative impact from weighing down.
So if your store's got a bunch of items that aren't being searched, naturally your traffic is low because of that, right? So I'd imagine that maybe based on that, if your traffic isn't up to scratch, because do you know what I mean? So like if you've got a bunch of items that nobody's searching, your traffic is like this, and then you've got traffic on good items like this, maybe that just sort of brings it more to a medium. Whereas
if you're still getting the traffic on the good items, right? Like these items will still sell because they're getting traffic because they're good items. Whereas these will just sit there dead. But the only thing I can think of is because that you've got all of this that isn't being bought, it just looks bad for your store, and therefore they don't give you the traffic like as much. They don't prioritize you in listings. Whereas if you've got a banger store where all the stuff is selling all the time, then they might prioritize your store in terms of ranking better than other stores. You're always delivering good items that people want to see, compared to like if you've got a load of dead items in there. That's the only thing I can think of that would make
I think Hanley mentioned this a while back, right? Which is people's perception of eBay is that they will negatively impact you for random reasons. But her view, which is now my view and something that I'm trying to at least be positive about, is eBay wants you to make a sale, because if you make a sale, they make money. So if you have good items that are selling, they're likely to push you because they want to make money, right? So realistically, if you've got a bad item, you've just got a bad item. That's on you. Like if your store's terrible, that's on you, because eBay is naturally going to push anybody that's doing infinitely better than somebody else because they're making more money. They want you to make those sales.
Does that therefore not? Does that not correlate to this then? Like,
I think that's what I'm saying. I think it may do. Like, I think if you've got a bunch of bad items, they're like, well, he's got like 500 items that nobody's viewing, so his store's not as good as this guy who's got 1,000 items. And
he's making sales. These guys we want him. Well, she could just like this exactly basically what we're saying is that his sales all the time is based on overall click through and conversion. Because if you're getting clicks and no conversions, like eBay's like, why are we promoting this guy when we've got someone over here who is converting more than this guy, which makes a lot of sense. So okay, that's all to be said. We got shit stuff in our store that's sitting around and could potentially be negatively impacting our conversions. But also, does that, like, we talked about numbers, right? Oh, did you just switch the view?
Yeah, I realized we were on a different one.
That's funny. If you're talking numbers, right? Like, obviously, we talked about before about having multiple lines in the water to be able to catch the fish, right? And the more lines you've got, the more likely you're going to catch fish. But how where's the line, right? So obviously you've got the old items, and you've got your hooks in the water because they're still there, they're still available to be bought. Like someone might search for them, but how good do they need to be to stick around? Because something I've had with my previous clearances, right? I have cleared hundreds of items out of my store, be that trying through 99p auction or just ridding them because they didn't sell. And I went back through my old items. I'm like, these still have a potential to sell, and they still haven't. So I was wrong. But that's besides the point. Like, where's the line of like, oh, this could sell versus I just need rid of this to make space and stop dragging me down? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things for us, right, as resellers, is that we bought the item for a reason, and therefore, if it hasn't sold, and you've got to do a clearance or you've got to donate it, whatever it ends up being, that's ultimately a kick to your own ego. And on top of that, you know the value of what you've paid for an item. So, for instance, me and you are both doing a little bit of auctions at the moment. And I have items on these auctions that I have paid 20, 25, 30 pounds for. And I've started them at £6.99 with free postage. And they've got bids at the moment of like £10. And I'm like, that's good because, you know, it's until Saturday. That's fine. But like, if that sells for £10, there's going to be a part of my ego that gets really kicked.
So
like,
you want to know a perfect example of that, right? So I used to put all how much I paid for everything in the SKU. Yeah. And I've said this before, not on here, but I felt like it negatively impacted what I was willing to sell it for and price it for. Yes. So I have an Isabel Moran like jumper in my auctions, right? And it's up for $4.99 plus post at the start point. I got offered 10 for it, and I was like, "Oh, that's good. That's like double what I started out at." And then I looked at how much I paid for it, and it was £12. It was £12, and I was like, "Fuck you!" I was like, "I want 15." And I was hoping they'd come back, and they didn't. I just lost the sale. Hopefully it sells in auction though. If it sells in auction for more than that, happy days.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine then.
But if it doesn't, it's just sad. Which is also completely my fault, to be honest with you. Anyway, yeah, as you said, me and Chris have got. Well, actually, I've gone down a dual route.
Oh, you have, yeah.
Whereas Chris has just jumped hard on the auction train. And just so for reference, in terms of clearance strategy and getting rid of old stuff, like I said, there's Markdown. There's Markdown sales. I tried that to start with. I used to try that. It didn't feel like it did anything. Nope. I'm not gonna lie to you. But then I don't know about other people here. Has anyone had any does anyone feel passionately about Markdown sales? Because I've heard some people say it's been successful for them, but for me, it's still dead. Like I had no success for the most part. Maybe I got a few things, and then it stops you doing other things for 2 weeks or something like that. I don't know if it's just another Markdown sale, but it stopped because it like re-indexes and stuff like that, and it makes it a mess. So I don't like Markdown sales. There is coupons, which obviously Kaylee's a fan of, and some other people are for clearance reasons, which is interesting. I don't like coupons either, like for the most part, because I feel like you can't tell the actual success of them. Now you cannot tell the actual impact a coupon is having, unless you really, really track your numbers. But then it could just be luck, because it applies to everything without even questioning it. It's like, oh, I put a coupon on my old items. Some of my old items are selling. Oh, it must be the coupon. I don't know.
I think your argument is safe there if you coupon everything. But I do think if you coupon your old stock into like a subsection of inventory and you say, right, here's 100 items with a 20% coupon, if they sell, then obviously your price was the issue in that scenario, right? So the coupon inadvertently works there. Like realistically, like you can say, well, actually, this item might not have sold without the coupon. So you've given them, maybe it's a 20% coupon. You're reducing the price by 20%, which is inadvertently gotten the sale. So obviously the pricing was the issue in that listing in the first place. So I think the argument falls short there. And then if you coupon everything, I actually think that there's an element to maybe you don't know what people would have bought if the coupon was applied or wasn't. So like if you like I applied a coupon last night and something sold for £200, right? Now, was it because it had a 10% coupon on, so it took it down by £20, right? So was that sale because they offered me £150 before they realized the coupon was on, and then just bought it because I was asleep? So they just bought it for 180 essentially with the coupon. Would they have bought that with or without the coupon? You don't know. However, I think if you are on your numbers in terms of the traffic, you can see if you see an increase in traffic based on the dates that you put the coupon in, I think that gives you an understanding of whether the coupon was effective or not.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Unless you'd really track your sales, it wouldn't even be sales. It would have to. You're right. It has to be like traffic. You'd have to see. You'd also have to be able to section out your traffic, though. You'd have to be able to see that this reduced section has got increased traffic. But I think it's been seen before that if you put a coupon across your whole store, the traffic doesn't really increase. Like it doesn't really make too much difference, to be honest with you. But you're saying even if you put it on the old stuff, like you get an idea. You don't, because you don't know if that old thing would have sold anyway. Like I said, I've been selling my old stuff reasonably consistently. If I put a coupon on and then we're still selling the old bits, I don't know if it's working or not. I'm still not sure. You can't directly correlate it, which is really annoying. And I find that very, very frustrating, because if you saw lots of people, if it wasn't auto applied, and you saw lots and lots of people come in and be like, hey, look, they use my coupon, that means they're seeing it and they're actively making a purchase, like consciously with your coupon. But because it's auto applied, you don't know who's seeing what.
I get a very interesting thing that happens when I put coupons on. Sometimes I will receive offers that are higher than the coupon because they haven't seen the coupon. So that shows me that the effectiveness of the coupon being on there isn't always as good as we think it is, because there's people that will send me an offer for more than what, like if I've got a 20% coupon on, somebody will send me a 10% offer off. And obviously I'm going to accept that. and then I'll make the sale with a 10% off rather than a 20% off, because they haven't seen the coupons automatically applied, so they don't even know the coupon's there, right? So that does sort of shield into your argument of people aren't even knowing there's a coupon until they're actually looking at the item. However, I do think sometimes that will push somebody over the line. They might look at an item and be like, oh, it's, I don't know, $19.99. Oh, wait there, he's got a 20% coupon on. I can get that a little bit cheaper. Do you know what? Actually, yeah, I will buy it because he's got free post as well. So theoretically,
it's just how, like, you don't know how often that's happening.
No, and that's the downside. But you could, I don't think there's even a way of being able to.
But there was, like, before you could see people using your coupon, and the reason I stick with this reasonably hard is because I'm pretty sure I remember before when it wasn't auto applied. People were saying not that high a percentage of people used their coupon. Like there was like compared to, obviously everything has a coupon on it, but not that many people used it in comparison to the fact that it was available for everyone. And that's just why especially considering that was a representation of how many people actually use the coupon, and now you can't even tell. I sway towards that. But it's interesting what Claire's just said here, which is that eBay are pushing coupons. So does that mean they promote your item more for it? I have no idea. Like, realistically, I don't. Are eBay pushing coupons? I don't even know this. Anyone else?
They also talked to the eBay Open about pushing auctions. So, you know, it's ultimately it's what they think people want, they will push. So obviously a coupon they'll want, so they'll push it. If you do free postage, I think they'll push you because you do free postage, and that's kind of their eBay top rated seller plus or whatever, right?
I think eBay roll a dice and just pick something they want to.
I also agree.
They're like, hey guys, we need something to talk about.
I was also
dodgy ass motion.
I think I was sat next to Shell in the clothing section of the eBay Open, and they mentioned that they were promoting 99p auctions, and we just looked at each other and we're like, isn't this like what eBay did 15 years? Like, this is what they started with, right? Like 99p auctions. This was what they, and now all of a sudden they've just quote unquote decided that they're going to promote it more. It's just a baffling. They're not bringing anything new. They're ultimately just saying that they're investing more time, money, and all this into certain products and certain products.
They're really focusing on this aspect of
they do all the time.
It's
distance is one that the promoted
distance makes sense.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. But it's I've said this to you before, but that woman that I had as a rep, I had my percentage on 8%, and she turned around to me and was like, "Oh yeah, 10% is really where it makes a difference, and that's where you're going to see the most increase in sales." And then the same day, James was on a call, and he was on 10%. And they said, yeah, 12.5% is where you really see the difference. And it was the same spiel that they gave me at 8 to 10 that they give him from 10 to 12. So ultimately, they just want you to do as much as they want you to give them as much money as possible, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, we're already giving them naturally. Like, I promote at 3.3% or something like that. Currently, it was a lot higher. But you knock that onto all of their fees, their percentage anyway. I'm giving away like 18% at the moment.
I'm pretty sure they told someone to go down in promoted though the other day. Did they not?
That was probably a rep that was, you know, a little more.
Yeah.
He wasn't pushing his own the eBay agenda. Maybe he just got a nice rep that was like, actually, do you know what? It doesn't really matter that much. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I think it is. They just get with someone who they actually know what they're talking about a bit more, because they're like, okay, you don't actually need this. We're just promoting it for the sake of it. But so Alma's rep told her the same. Coupons work better for closed category than markdown sales, which makes that I can believe all day, every day of the week. Coupons are a little bit more obvious nowadays. That's interesting. That could completely, like, maybe that's a really big thing, to be fair, because that's something I did was change. I use a coupon, but not for a 20% off or anything like that. I use a coupon, and you started trying to use it, see how it went, as for buy 3 get 20% off, so I could get the red bar and like have a offer on that attracted some attention. And then Kaylee's saying my listings increased. My impressions and listing views increased by 50% on the first day. What about after that? I'll just chuck it on the screen.
So I spoke to her briefly yesterday, and she was saying that it usually impacts by like the first 12 to 24 hours. So I think one of her strategies was that she was going to do daily coupons. which is why I've not done daily, but I have gone. So I'm doing Monday to Wednesday 10% coupon, and then Wednesday to Friday 10% coupon, and then Saturday and Sunday 15% coupon. That's for the rest of this week. And the idea is that if it's a 12 to 24 hours, there's potential for me to get a little bit of increase in traffic and maybe make some sales. I don't mind giving away 10%. That's not that it ends up being like what 22% or whatever, and there's enough margin in it for me to be able to do whatever I need to do.
I mean, you send out offers more than 10%.
Yeah, I send out offers at 10% all the time anyway. So I think it's a good way of just sort of I'm testing the waters with it. I'm not doing daily because I'm too lazy. But I mean, to be fair, it took me 2 minutes last night to schedule 3 coupons for the week. So if you do that every week,
I didn't even know you could schedule coupons.
Yeah, so I've scheduled them to go live on Wednesday to Friday.
Is it said schedule or schedule?
Oh, it's definitely schedule, by the way, but I just say schedule because.
Can we have an answer? Someone chuck in the comments.
It's schedule, right?
Schedule or schedule people in here. I don't even know how you're gonna. They're just gonna write the word. I don't know how I'm gonna say anything. But yeah, sorry. Yes.
Oh. Oh, Benji. Is it just me or is Benji gone? Schedule, hard C.
Okay.
Hello.
Am I back?
I can hear you. Oh, there you go. You're back. Sorry. I don't know. I wasn't sure if it was me or you, but
no, that's the first time it happened.
Yeah,
that's my mum. I'm sure I'm back to that.
Well, the hard C is your mum, is it?
Yeah, the hard C. Yeah.
So it is definitely schedule.
Yeah, she speaks proper English as well.
Oh, okay.
Well posh.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I didn't know you could schedule coupons, which is interesting. And can you just do that? Like, how far in the future can you do that?
So it was allowing me to do a coupon for like a month, I think. So I think you could probably get a month ahead and be okay with it. And this morning it'll be super interesting what happens in the next 12 to 24 hours. I sent out a coupon, not a coupon, a newsletter this morning as well.
Oh, we're on newsletters as well.
I thought, you know what? If I'm doing a coupon, I'll drop a newsletter because I haven't dropped one since like the February the 1st. So it's like I'll drop a newsletter as well. Hopefully that I've only got like 2,000 people in my newsletter from like recent buyers or whatever. So I've dumped that on there as well. And I'm just trying because, like I said, January was my best ever month, and then because I thought January was going to be awful, right? It started really, really well. Obviously, best month, right? And then February kicked in. I was like, right, if we can replicate that in February, and we can get rolling for the year. And then what's happened is my expectation is up here.
Yeah.
And reality is all the way down here.
Yeah, it feels good.
Now I've gone, I need to do some work. And obviously, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, but like, because I've gone up in listings to 20, I'm spending I'm spending double the amount of money on stock.
Of course.
And then obviously the sales aren't catching up. So the money I'm getting back is essentially what I've invested.
Yeah,
so it's doing this. And until it starts going like this, I'm in a position where I can do 20 a day consistently with the cash flow for maybe like another month or so. But if it doesn't start catching up, I'm ultimately like the cash is going to be the issue, and like the store's going to completely like be increasing by like another.
It will.
I think it will.
You can always just drop it if you need to. Really.
Yeah, and I think February is just. I think what it's done is made me realize that this game isn't easy and it's not consistent. It's just sometimes it will be up, sometimes it will be down. But what you've got to remember when it's down is that it's been up, and when it's up, it's going to come down. And as long as you can even it all out. Like I've evened out my sales for the whole month of January, and then I've done it for February so far, and I'm only actually down by 2 sales a day. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world. But obviously, with these things like trying to clear out a lot of stock, I might sell 100 on Saturday, but that's going to massively skew. If I was to average out my entire month of sales versus days, that's going to massively sort of do that.
So I did this last year, probably at the same time, actually. I'd say the February, March mark. And I had a massive bump in sales. And it looks really good. Like, it looks nice, but it's actually terrible because it's like, it's not 90 things that have sold for like £1.50. I get why it didn't make that much difference. But the thing I would say is I'm sad it's going to impact my ASP. Because
yours is quite good, isn't it?
My ASP has been balling out realistically, and this is gonna be it's gonna hit it. It's gonna punch it in the face, and I'm gonna be sad about it. But realistically, I think ASP is low-key just a vanity metric anyway. So I don't mind. But as for actually clearing stuff out, we haven't really even discussed what the plan was. So I was on the afters call in the group the other day, and I was whining about the fact that I've got loads of stuff. And I was telling everyone, I was like, I'm going to whack it all on auction. Because Jack said earlier about, isn't it best just to reduce stuff over time? I've tried that, and I've done it a bit, but I feel like it's not quick enough. Like, I feel like you can do that, and you can go on. And I probably wasn't doing it hard enough, I'd say. Like, I was doing 15% at a time, because that's, like, the offer I'd take. But realistically, I could do 20%. I could do 25%. That would be very, very aggressive. And if you really wanted to clear stock, that would probably be the way to go. But I was kind of like, again, these items in my head, a lot of them anyway, were like, I still kind of think there's an opportunity for these to sell.
This is the ego side of it, right? You don't want to make a big loss, and you think the items are good because you source them. So it's very difficult sometimes to let go of them, I think.
I know. I can tell you that there's some shit ones in there. Like,
I've got a few.
I can tell you, I can look at them and be like, that's terrible. I don't know why I bought that. And obviously, like I said, some of these are like a year and a half, 2 years old, I think. I'm not actually sure. I don't even remember when I started this, to be honest with you. I don't remember when I got in this unit and put number 1 on the SKU. But I still look. I was doing this on the call. I was like, I'd still probably buy this if it was cheap enough. Like, I'd still like this. I don't understand. The big thing is I don't understand why some of it is not sold. Some of it I do, definitely. But there's some that, obviously, I understand why it hasn't sold quickly. Like, I understand why it hasn't sold in a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. In 2 years, I'm surprised it hasn't sold. Like, I'm like, yes, I understand this is a bad size. It's an 8, or the 6 is particularly.
It's just tough.
And I look at that and I go, yeah, okay, I get it. I get why it's not sold. Bad choice, Benji. But then I'm like, it's been 2 years though. Surely a size 6 someone has looked at it and maybe thought it was nice. Like, that's what I hope anyway. But obviously there's some title structure things that obviously you went back and changed a lot. I looked at mine. My title structure was okay when I got to here, because I think I got in here at a similar time I joined the group. And I think I also did go back and correct a few things. I had some dodgy keywords. Like, I was like, I could definitely implement some better keywords to maybe pick up the traffic. But aside from that, I thought I was okay. I think a large part of it was price. Like, I definitely had stuff overpriced. Like, I was not aware of why things were priced the way they were. And I was talking to James about this as to pricing based on how nice the item is. So, like, for example, I have a load of toast that sat here for 2 years. And in my head, two things. I thought it was brand new without tags. So it came from some woman's collection. And she just had loads that we're going to be morbid about it. She died. And she just had a load of toast sitting there in her cupboards because she was a toast fan. And her son donated it all to the charity shop. And I walk in and I'm a newbie. I'm seeing toast everywhere. And I'm excited. I'm like,
I've been here.
I'm excited. I'm like, guys, like, I'll buy it all, please. Just give me the opportunity. And I did buy it all. Bought it all for way too much, and then it stuck. A lot of it did sell. Like, we definitely got our money back, but it stuck. And I priced a lot of it because it was toast and not new. And in my head, brand new without tags. People don't care, by the way. If anyone wants to know, if you sell it brand new without tags. Or
it's
even
either new with tags or it's used. There's no new without tags. Like,
yeah, even other categories. I don't know if it's the same. If anyone wants to speak up, but if you had a toy and it was out the box but hadn't been played with, like, you're not thinking, new without box. Like, it's not how it works. Like, the collectors don't want it without the box. The people don't want it, so it's irrelevant if it's new or used or not. Like, if it's not got the labels, it's not got the tags on it. It's not. No one cares, realistically. You can tell them and describe to them how perfectly you've kept it in your cupboard in its pristine condition. It's been kept in like a nice wrapping. You've cling filmed it, wrapped it like a body bag, and it's safe. But no one really cares. So I overpriced it all based on that. And then also a lot of it is really not the style it needs to be to even get the price that I imagined it would be if it was new.
I think you know as well with Toast, because Toast is such a popular brand. The sell through is so good in so many sections of category. If you have, I personally think if you have an item of Toast for more than 3 months, you've ultimately just bought a bad item, like style wise or whatever. I mean, I sell on Vinted as well, and I put a couple of Toast pieces on the other day, and they sold the same day, like for the same money that I would have put on Money eBay, or the same money I did put on Money eBay for. So I just think if you don't sell a Toast item in the first 3 months, it's either super overpriced or it's just not what people want. Because
I think with Toast though, I think because of Toast the brand, if you get an item people don't want and list it cheap enough, someone will buy it.
Oh. Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
that's
maybe.
What I do quite often, unless it's really just not it. Like
I had a silk tunic something or other once, and it was all floral in pattern. Nobody wanted it. I think I sold it for like £7 on Vinted in the end. I had it for like 4 months. It's just like nobody wants this. Like even if it's silk, even if it's like nobody wants it's Toast. No
one cares.
No one gives a rat's ass.
But anyway, back to clearances.
Sorry.
No, you say sorry. We get sidetracked. Give me 2 seconds.
Also, I think Tasha has a good point now. Is that sometimes like you'll price something from like 6 months ago, and maybe the season changes. Maybe, do you know what I mean? Ultimately, like if you're listing something if I'm listing a downfill coat in November, and it hasn't sold by
seasonality is massive.
Yeah, like by the summer, I'm probably going to have to wait until the winter kicks back in before that sells again, unless I drastically drop the price, right? So I think that is a big factor in when you're pricing, and I think that could cause issues if you're going to clear stock, because you might be like, oh, this is a Rab jacket, I'm not reducing this because it's a Rab jacket, but it's also like June.
So then, do you wait till next year?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, do you then ultimately you go? I would, yeah. Personally, I'm not selling it for 25% off because it's hot now. I also think that some people will go on holiday and stuff, and sometimes people need coats if they're going away to like Iceland or whatever. Like, there's still opportunity there, but obviously the opportunity is massively limited. I think sometimes it all depends on your storage. Like, how much storage have you got? Like, obviously with me, like I've spoken to you about it, but like because I've gone up to 20 a day from like essentially like 10 or 15 depending on what variation I was in at the time, like my store is growing exponentially, and the sales haven't caught up. So at some point I'm going to run out of room. So then I have to make a mental thought process of, do I start clearing these items now regardless of seasonality? Like, especially if you're running out of room in the summer, and you've got 100 Rab coats that are taking up like half a box or whatever, then you've really got to like sort of nail down what you want from your sale. And
two extreme examples of this, right? So firstly, I'm in a position. Another reason why I wanted to clear out is I'm in a position where I have to consolidate too much at the moment. Like it's I'm going to consolidate again. Like right now I'm filling boxes and just putting them around. There's not even space for them on the shelves. I'm just putting them around places. But that's another reason. If there's 450 spaces in my store that need to get gone, then I've got space to move. But 2 examples of this is I'm thinking about ski stuff. Ski stuff always stresses me out, because if you miss the ski stuff window, then ski stuff is not going anywhere. It's sitting there, it's looking at you in the face, it's not selling, and it's not selling for good money ever. So I'm in my head, I'm like, oh, do I do a super hard bulk clear out of ski stuff and winter stuff in general, right? If we're going into spring, just right at the start, do I just whack on a hard, 25 to 30% off, and then see if we can get rid of a load of it so we don't get stuck with it over summer? Because that's a very interesting thing. And someone said it. Jay said, take it off and put it in a winter box. I've played with this idea. I've played with the winter versus summer stock and stuff. Again, it's a space thing. Like, right, just because it's not in your store doesn't mean it's not taking up space somewhere. Like, you're still storing it somewhere. And the other thing that's pissing me the fuck off is my Sweaty Betty haul. No one knows about this on here, well, except for the people that do know this. I spent like $6,000 at a Sweaty Betty warehouse sale, and it won't move. It won't. I can't sell it. It takes up so much space because it's like the same stock. And okay, some stuff's moved. We sold like, I think 10 things maybe out of like 300. And that was 3 months ago. So right now, I'm like, this is taking up space. It's not selling. I just want to recuperate my funds. And the one option is to make it cheap, like on eBay. Like I could basically put it like maybe at overcost, like 50% overcost, rather than double or triple what I'm going for, which is what I had in my head. Or the idea I'm really playing with is just whacking it on Facebook Marketplace, because it's so annoying. Okay, the Sway Bay is not going on Vinted because it's multi-quantity.
So yeah, the issue with Vinted is if you would have to crop, like if you've got the same item in the same size, you would have to crop. If you had 50 of those items, you would have to list it, sell it, crop the pictures, list it, sell it, crop the pictures, list it, and you would just have to do that 50 times for every item. And that is, don't get me wrong, I do think that your best option right there to get the most value is probably do that. But just because you can extrapolate the most value doesn't mean that isn't going to take you also the most time and the work and the effort. So I do agree that Vinted is probably 100% the best place to put it. But I just think time and effort versus like the money that you're going to get back for it, is it really worth it? But on the extreme like opposite of that, I mean, I stalk your store anyway, but like the restock did really well. Like I've seen So like you may have spent $6,000 on Sweaty Betty and it hasn't worked out, but you spent a lot. I don't know how much you spent, but you spent a good amount on in Reese.
I think 7.
In Reese, and I've seen some of the sales like that. Is it Altia? Altia?
I don't know.
Whatever it is, like that was. I mean, if it sold for what it says it sold for, it's an incredible sale. I think your average buy cost was like, what was it, £25 or something?
25,
yeah. So that's really, really good. Like
I also have 2 returns coming back from that already. So I've got £110 puffer and I've got a £80 jacket as well. So it swings and roundabouts and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like sometimes in this game, you've got to take chances, and when you get the opportunity to buy in bulk and really sort of like potentially make incredible amount, like because realistically, that's Sweaty Betty could have made you thousands, right?
I mean, okay, that's what AC Global just said, right? Like he said, but you're selling it. Like it is.
How long do you have to wait before you want to clear it? That's the thing. You're already on 3 months, right? So do you hold it for 6? Do you hold it for 10? Do you hold it for 12?
Forever if it sells. Yeah. With how I want to run my store, I don't know if you can hear the absolute racket going on in the background. I'm currently getting the unit because I'm moving into there, so maybe in a few weeks' time we'll be in a new setup. But we got some construction work going on. So sorry about that.
If you can hear it, apologies, but it's not the end of the world. It's not too loud.
I turned up my gain, to be fair. With how I want to run my store, considering how much space it's taking up, I also, and what I expected from it, it's not performing how I want it to, and I'd rather recuperate my funds and put it into something better. Like 6K is not like a minimal amount of money to spend on something. I would rather take that, have it back, and use it in a different way than to have it sit there. And it's literally just in the floor in there as well. Like it's not packed in here. There's no space for it. If
you've not got like a fucking a cupboard or something, you can just dump it all in and forget about it, and then it sells when it sells, and you can just move it there. Like because out of sight, out of mind is quite a good way of thinking about it as well. In terms of like just like, look, it's listed. You have one in your SKU system, and then when it sells, you just replenish it with another one, same number in the same place in your SKU system, and you just keep doing that. And maybe if you have a spare hour, maybe you just list them on Vinted, like at least list one, see if they sell, and then if they sell really quickly, maybe you go, actually, do you know what? Let's just list another one and give it a shot. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it is worth it.
All the Vinteders, and
they love it.
No, but it's fair because what I could do is just treat it as new stock all the time. So I think this is what Kate said to me. It's like picture one, sell it, picture again, sell the next one, and do it in like a rotating system rather than and just pick from it when you're going to sell things rather than list it all at once and hope it sells, or do the crop recrop. Just treat it as new stock and a supplementary stock as you go along, which is a very global.
AC Global was saying there, like, what's the difference if it's selling on Vinted? So the thing with eBay, right, is you can just have one listing and X amount of numbers, so like 21 items versus, and if it sells, you don't have to do anything and it can sell again. Whereas with Vinted, you just have to put that little bit more effort in. Now, obviously, if you sell every single Sweaty Betty item you've got for double your money on Vinted, right, in a week, it's worth the effort. Like, you know what I mean? It's worth the effort. But how does that really work? And is it going to work? You don't know until you try it, right?
Okay. Should I? No, I'm not gonna commit to it because I know what I'm like. I'd honestly, because it's pissed me off. I'd rather just get my $6,000 back and move on. You're all right.
If you can double your money, that's $6,000. Like, you put $6,000 in, you double your money, that's 12. That's an incredible amount of money to get back.
I'm saying. They are all right. Everyone said because Sweaty Betty's selling on Vinted now, and that's where maybe the buyers are at generally.
Yeah, I think it probably is.
You're probably right. Am I just pissed off at it and don't want to look at it anymore? Maybe. But maybe I'll change my mind. We'll see. If it sits there, maybe I do it. I don't know.
At the end of the day, right? You're a business. You're a seller. You're in the business of making money. So why would you dump it on Facebook?
Right. I'm getting my emotions into this.
You're letting the emotions kick in, and you're thinking, this has pissed me off. I've had enough of this shit.
That's okay.
Yeah, you're doing what I do, mate. You know, you've seen me lose my fucking mind. Like, do you know what I mean? Maybe you just need to go, money's money. If you paid, I don't know, like £8-9 or whatever it was per item, you just list it for 20, brand new, see what happens. I don't know what your prices were, but
it was like 15, but it's close enough.
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
I mean, your mum's also said, don't be lazy, put it on Vinted.
You know, she started piping up today of all that, like, and what she said, nothing useful. But back to clearance. Speaking of Vinted, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
And clearance, which is fair, because Chris is on just auctions.
I will say there was all of my listings are also on Vinted. Anyway, so they're already pre-listed on Vinted. And one thing I did very quickly yesterday was I had an item which is a Rucker Gore-Tex Cordura like motorcycle jacket, and that was going to go on a $6.99 auction for Saturday. And I went onto Vinted, manually found it in my store, which took me ages, and I had it priced at $200. And I had a bunch of people that were interested when it was at 100, and I'd offered them 150, and they were like, "Oh, maybe not." I actually just dropped the price instantly to 80, and one of the people that I'd recently offered it to at 150 just bought it outright for 80. So that was a really good item. And
this is where auctions are so interesting, and partly why I want to do auctions, because my items I think have a little bit of interest in. So I've got right now on bids, I've got a Brunello Cucinelli dress. I've got a Alexander McQueen dress.
Insane.
Like a nice one, and something else that's like semi-decent. I've got some nice toast bits, like nice-ish, one specifically or two-ish nice toast bits. So I'm interested to see if they actually get traction, right? Like, I'm interested to see how bids actually perform if it's an item that maybe someone will want. Like, for example, that Rucker jacket, I'm sure would have been an in-demand item. I doubt it would.
100% I would have thought like 50 minimum, but I just secured the 80 because I only paid 18 quid for it, so I was happy.
So yeah, I'm partly doing the auctions because I think it's fun. Like, I think it's interesting to see what stuff will go for. Because I've had it before with only a few items, but specifically one COS item I had, which was just like a big long Lagenlucky dress that had been up for 25 to 30 for ages. And I reduced it past that. And you just read the same thing. And it didn't sell. And then I put it on auction, and it sold for way more than I actually ever had it listed for. And anyone could have bought it at any point in time. And they didn't. But I'm hoping for that on a few things this time. Because last time I was clearing out utter rubbish. Like, it was completely...
I think there's a difference, right? Some people use auctions to clear out stuff that they wouldn't buy again ever. Mm-hmm. Whereas we're clearing out stuff that we would buy again, but maybe the sizing isn't right, maybe the pictures weren't as good as we could have done, or whatever, and we've just had enough of seeing the items. So, like, for instance, I've got Alpha Industry jackets, I've got Nike Liverpool coats, I've got brand new tags, suede leather, Ralph Lauren trousers, I've got some incredible bits going on these auctions, but it's just stuff that I am I know how much I paid for these items. And ultimately, I don't care. I want them gone. I want them out. I need to clear space for new stuff that's coming in. And ultimately, I believe I'm better now than I was then. So therefore, the title should be better, the picture should be better, and the item itself should be better. So, be playing in, like, that's the way forward.
Okay, and then other side of what I'm doing is basically on the call. I was on moaning to people and telling them I was gonna list it all on auction because I've had enough. They're like, oh, just try clearing it on Vinted, because people have many times said over that they've put something on Vinted that had been on eBay for like a year and it's sold within however
a
like
day or
a day, right? And everyone convinced me. So right now, what I've got going on is 30 items on auction and 30 items listed on Vinted, and we're trying to see what produces some better results. And I tell you now, Vinted isn't in favor right now. Just as a mid-season update, we've had 2 items sell on Vinted, which has been a Ralphie gilet and randomly some old NYDJ jeans.
I have a quick question on that. With those 2 items that you have sold, did you send out an offer, or did you take an offer, or did they just sell for full price?
I took an offer on the Ralphie and sold full price on the Not Your Daughters.
Okay, because I do think that with Vinted, sometimes it's better just to constantly send out the offers, because that will tickle people over. I know you've not done as much of that, I believe.
Yes. Sorry, did you answer this in the chat that I sent you?
I haven't got through to it yet. No.
Anyone here? Does the seller aider send offers to buyers thing work, or do I have to do it manually?
Well, I don't even know, so I'm interested in this as well, because I know Zip Sale have a similar feature, but you have to pay extra, and I don't pay for Zip Sale because it's awful. And I won't use Accelerator because guess what? It's awful. They're all awful.
So
they're very. Pardon?
Do you do all your cross listing manually?
No, I use Zip Sale. It's just awful. Zip Sale's the easiest of the 2 for me. But when it comes to offers and stuff, well, I've shown people before, but like I'll have like 65 notifications of stuff to send offers out on Vinted. I just don't do it. I haven't got time to sit there.
It does. Okay, anyone, seller aider people that send offers on Vinted. What, like, do we have an efficient way of doing it, or no?
Teddy might be getting that set up soon, so that could be something to think about as well in the future.
There's another thing Andrew said earlier. So Andrew said that he just found stuff that was listed from 2022 and he just whacked it all on Vinted.
Are you having any success with that, Andrew, in terms of like how many items have you listed on Vinted versus how many items you've sold?
I think he just did it. I think
he only just done it. Okay,
I'm gonna try and find it.
Xander, just so you know, you never have to pay for Zip Sale. Just don't pay for it. You never have to use it ever. Like pay for it ever.
I can't find it.
You do it. That's why. Yeah, there you go. Tasha.
He just said I just found a load of stuff from listed from 26. So it might have been literally just now because he was looking. Or
okay, yeah.
Or is it still? Oh, I put 20 items on Vinted yesterday.
That's really good. It's 20. Like that's really good.
This isn't how it's performed for me, and it might just because I'm overpriced. But I also because they were clearance prices, it looked like I was a scammer because I had like £15.12. Like was like my pricing. And
I think that might have an impact as well.
So I went through and changed all that to hopefully fix that. But yeah, that's the goal right now, right? Like firstly, we're going to see what performs better in the end. I also want to see, obviously, maybe if I start sending out offers, it will help a bit. I think it should, like realistically. Like I got an anthropology dress that's got.
If you're giving stuff for people cheaper, it's obviously going to help. Like you know what I mean. So sending offers out is definitely something.
Seller aided can send offers, but it doesn't work well, and it's more effective to do it yourself. That's sad. As far as I know, there's no easy way to send offers on Vinted. Yeah. Okay.
They're the 2 most Vinted people I know as well. So if they're both saying it, I would just be inclined to agree with them.
Have to take it on the chin.
Just have to do it manually, mate.
So, but yeah, out of interest for people here, do we have clearance strategies? And if so, what is your clearance strategy? What's your go-to way to get rid of old stock? Just give me like an offers a promoted. Someone said promoted earlier as well, by the way, which I forgot to touch on as another method. Upping your promotion.
Just promotes, yeah.
Just upping your promotion.
Even if it's just on a selected bunch of your old stock, right? You could just promote them slightly higher because evidently, if they're not getting views, they need to be promoted more to get the views. So you could just manipulate like 50 listings and just up that by like double. Especially for you, right? You only promote it like 2.2. And I do like 3. So realistically, on the awful items,
probably make a big difference.
You could just go to 5, and I could just go to 6. Like just double it up. And
do you think having two promoted listing strategies going at the same time? Do you think they mesh well, or do you think?
I don't. I think one thing that I've learned very heavily over the last like 6 to 12 months is I genuinely think we give eBay too much power and credit in what we think they're going to do.
Thanks.
Because I think you go, oh, well, if I've got this one at 3% and I've got this one at 6%, blah, 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 blah. None of it. Ultimately, like, we're giving them all the power and all of the credit. Like, realistically, if I sell a Rab jacket, eBay sold it for me, but it's a good Rab jacket, right? Like, I've done the work there. And I think that's something that you have to take pride in, and you have to sort of realize is that, yes, eBay is the platform that it's sold on, or Vintage the platform it's sold. They haven't sold that item for you. You've put the work in, like cleaning it, tidying it up, maybe steaming it. You've bought it, you've gone out and sourced it. And on top of that, you've taken bloody good pictures. You've built the title. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've done all of the work. They're just a funnel for somebody to find your item. And I think we give them too much credit for all of the things that happen. I think, oh, well, I promoted it at 6% and that's why I sell more than you. Well, maybe it's just that you've got better items.
So, okay. I agree. Like, I agree that eBay is given way too much credit all the time. And but it's also, the annoying thing is you don't know how much of it's true, right? Like, you don't know how much.
Finding out any of it. Like,
I know, that's what's annoying. Right? You don't,
I think that's what they've done. I genuinely think they've done it on purpose. Because
ambiguous.
Yeah, completely ambiguous. Like, for instance, right, I don't know how they track whether it was sold via promoted listing or not promoted listing. And they could tell me that every single item is promoted listing, and I'm just going to go, cool, it's done its job. However, it's so ambiguous. I have no idea. And they do this on purpose. Genuinely, they do it on purpose because they don't want people to understand how to work the system. Because if you work the system, you can break the system. And that is just like, you've played computer games, right? You find one glitch in the matrix and everybody abuses that matrix, like that glitch, right? And that's just essentially what eBay, they have made it so ambiguous and so broad that there's no way of finding out how to manipulate it for you to
actually win. But yeah. I don't know, because then it would mean it wouldn't mean anything. I agree. Like, I think, okay, there's definitely some stuff that you're like, okay, I can understand this, but I think there's a lot of stuff that is just a waste of space that people think about, and it doesn't really get you anywhere. Like stuff like, oh, when you've got open returns or other stuff like that, like these little negative things that people are like, oh yeah, it's going to impact your sales. I think we give them too much credit. I think that we're thinking they're too smart and they care that too much when you are just like a small fish in a massive pond. And there could just be some like all-seeing algorithm manipulating the pieces like every single time a small thing changes. But I just think that's so unrealistic for them, considering it's such an old platform anyway. I just think it's crazy. But I don't know. Do you see what Kaylee said?
Yeah. So if someone clicks on your 6% and then they buy your 3%, you would still get charged for 6%.
How does that work?
Because that's just eBay in a nutshell. Let's be honest.
How do you know this as well, by the way?
Yeah, I'd be. But we have some interesting ones on here, like in terms of the clearance strategy. Clearance strategy is Vinted. That's a great one. I start sending out 50% offers to watchers on stuff I don't want anymore to get it gone. That's a great. If you just don't care about the item anymore.
But I don't know how you do this. Andrew, how do you do this? Because obviously I always bulk send offers. Like, I just click whatever offers I've got available and then chuck in my percentage.
You'd have to just manually go, I'll send out these offers to this price, and then this one I know is old and I don't want it anymore. And then you go in and just 50%. You'd have to do it a bit more manual.
That feels annoying.
Brett increases the coupon on old stuff weekly up to 80%.
That's crazy.
Up to 80% is crazy. But on the same token, right, like, realistically, you haven't paid 20% of your value. Like, I don't know what your margins are.
That's interesting compared to reducing the price. So that's okay. One thing I always think about reducing the price sometimes is once it gets to a certain low point, like, people think something's wrong with it. Like, there's a hierarchy of like value to price of the item to the value people perceive in it. And sometimes if you price an item too low, people are like, I don't know. And sometimes you price an item high, they're like, oh, this item's like a good quality item, therefore I'm going to buy this one. And people can push comps that way.
I think that works on eBay. That logic works on eBay. On Vinted, they're just going to buy it because it's cheap.
I agree.
I think those two platforms are very different in that sense. But however, I do agree with eBay. I think if you've got a pair of toast barrel leg jeans at like £6.99, people are going to be like, what is there crap stains in the back of them? Like, what's cracking with these? Whereas if they're 50 quid like they're meant to be, then people are like, oh yeah, that's a good item. I'll try and get it for 40. Do you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah. But this 80% off coupon. No, but this 80% off coupon does both. Like if you have it at the price you had it at, and then show them the value of the fact that
if you've got something up like 40 quid, like, and it goes down to 80% off, that's a hell, like that number jump from 40 to like 15 is crazy.
It's also a better way to keep track of the price discounts, because obviously I'm discounted by 15%, 15%, right? And that means when I start, I'm doing 15% of the big number, and then the number slowly gets smaller and smaller, and 15% becomes less and less of a discount. So this is interesting to like do that more effectively, because it will be 20% will stay the same, and then 30% will stay. I like that. I actually really like that, and I haven't thought of that, which is cool.
I think 80% is good on some items that are £20 and below as well, because I think obviously that's like you're saying there. Like if you have 20% off a £100 item versus 20% off a £15 item, like the margins are so small on the £15 item that it feels less enticing.
Yeah.
So if you can do like bigger, if you go 20% on everything and then like maybe 60% on anything under 20 quid, it just makes more of a shift in the mentality of being able to purchase it for a better price. The price difference is crazy.
That is interesting. I like that strategy, to be honest. And if people are saying coupons are pushed and people like using coupons for clearance, all of that comes together to a very. I like that. I might try that. That might be on the next on the list, because I've still got more items to get rid of. 8 months, Simon's cash for closing it. Fair.
I mean, that's not a bad strategy either, because I donate a lot of my clothes that I'm running out of. So maybe cash for clothes is maybe like a better way of just recuperating. But then again, it ultimately, if I'm going past the charity shop because I'm charity shopping, is it like better for me to go and versus 40 quid? Like, say for instance, I was going to get 40 quid cash for clothes. Is it better for me to go to the charity shop because it's on my route and it takes no time? Or is it better for me to drive 25 minutes up the road to go and do the cash for clothes, then wait 20 minutes while they go through it, and then drive 20 minutes back? Like, if I have to do that, it's taking an hour out of my day. Is it worth the 40 quid? Ultimately, probably is, right?
I mean, obviously, if it's massively inconvenient, then no. Plus, you could put you instead just throwing some stuff back to the charity shop if they want it.
Yeah.
Unless it's terrible and then they hate you. But I think that's interesting, and I obviously it's a good way to compare it to people just donating. It's like the same as car booting, right? Like car booting takes time, and you're going to sell it pretty cheap. Obviously, you're going to get less at cash for clothes, but generally you still get some money back quicker than a car boot, which is cool.
What do you think of the 8 month period that he's got on that, Simon's like 8 month period? Do you think that's too much time, or do you think that's about right?
He's saying he's marked it down to that point, and that's like after that point he's done. Which is fair.
So he's marked down prior, and as soon as 8 months is the cut. Actually, do you know what I like that? I think 8 months is about right.
Because in my head, so if you want an average of 90-day sell through, right? You're going to have some stuff that's going to sell within 1 month. You're going to have some stuff that's going to sell within 6 months. And then after that, like obviously after the 90 days, you want to start reducing and hopefully get that sale in. But then if it hasn't sold by 8 months, I think that is a good average cut-off point, unless you have a longer tail item. Generally,
if it's like a Cucinelli that like is cashmere and it's like 600 quid, then it's going to be really hard for like you just got to wait for the right buyer. Unless it's something like that, then obviously. But I think you can always be like very selective in the strategy as well. You can be like, well, this item is a good item and it will sell.
If you're picking them out, you can. Be
it's not too bad.
AC Global's promoted rate is crazy.
We've got here. He's got.
I've got 5% on trainers, 4% on shoes, 3%. So that's interesting that trainers and shoes have different ones. 3% on miscellaneous, 2.5% on clothes, and don't promote from the first 10 days. My sales organic of shop. They're not promoted for the first 10 days. I back this for quite a while, and I still do. It's just you're gonna have to manage it. Like it's another step.
Yeah. So it's something I agree with, and it's also the same with the people that will put stuff on Vinted for 4 days before they'll put it on eBay. Mm-hmm. I genuinely think that's a fantastic model and the way to do it. However, I don't have the time and energy to do that. But if you were really on it and you were smart and you had it all in your head, perfect way of doing it. I just am way too lazy.
Yeah. Okay. What else we got? Just because we're that was it. Your Tash said car boot and charity shop, which is what you said.
Yeah, I think that's the way.
Crystal's store is now 7 months old. She needs to start looking at this. I'd be interested to see how much stuff you've got lying around, Crystal.
So she sent me a picture. I don't know if she put it on her story. I can't remember. But she sent me a picture of, you know, the green baskets with the little flip like bars on the side that you can stack.
Yeah, the flippy.
Yeah, I think she had two and a half of those of stuff that wasn't listed.
Wasn't listed.
Whether that's down to, I think what her
After
biggest
stock take.
Yeah, she did a stock take. So what I think one of her biggest flaws on what she was doing in that sense was that if there was an item that, because obviously she pictures then drafts, right? I think what had happened is she was going through the pictures, seeing some flaws, then debating whether to list it, and then never got around to listing it, but it ended up in the SKU system.
Mm-hmm.
And then that I think that's where a lot of her stock come from. So I don't know how much of it was stock that had fallen off, because the store's only 7 months old. I don't imagine a lot of it would have been removed by eBay just randomly. I think a lot of it would have just been in error when it comes to relisting from non-buyers returns and just some errors in there as well.
I'd never done a stock take, but I know I've got some of that sitting around for sure.
My first stock take was crazy. I had like 80. I had a 400 or 500 item store, and I had 85 items not listed. Wow. Yeah, it was honestly wild. And then I took all of those 85 items and sold them all on Whatnot, because that was when I had a little Whatnot phase. But yeah, like just crazy amounts. But that you knew as well, like at those things, I think more mistakes are going to happen. Like for instance, I think James was saying, like if you're on the PC and you get a return and you click relist and refund.
No, it's mobile. So mobile refunds are completely broken. If you get rid of the notification on the actual notifications tab, you can't even do it on mobile.
I don't do it on mobile, because whenever I click, I must get rid of my notifications, because I can never click.
You can do it from the notification tab, and when you used to go to the section and you click returns, and then it would appear there, and then it would take you to the website and whatever. Now, if you try and go to selling, and where it goes, you've got the red. Oh, you've got one return. You click on it, it's always grayed out. Like there's no picture. Nothing.
Yeah, you can't click on
it. It does nothing. So you have to keep the notification open and then click the notification to do the return. And now, once you try and do the return, obviously you click relist. Yeah, relist this item. Normally it did it automatically. Now it never does it automatically. It always says there was a problem relisting this item, or there was an issue. Yep. And you have to then go in. It'll bring the listing up, and then you have to go to the thing and set it live again.
So I've actually started clicking the button to not relist it, and then manually going in and doing it. I don't get like crazy amounts of returns. It's maybe 10 a month. Like it's still quite a lot, but not like crazy amounts versus how many I'm selling. And I now just don't bother. I wait for it to come up. I click the button that says relist and get rid of it. So I don't want to do that. And then I'll manually go in and relist it myself, sell similar, and do it that way. And sometimes what I'll even do is I'll even take it and put it into the drafts, make sure the title's good, make sure the pricing's good. And then I'll relist it the next day when I'm listing my items for the next day.
Yeah, he just said as well, PC doesn't auto-relist either. I'm assuming this is because they've changed something. This could be to do, in my head, it's to do with like GDPR, whatever it's called.
I don't know what it's called.
With the European thing. And because that's now an extra section on the thing, I feel like it's got some weird like checklist that it needs to go through. And because your old listings never check that box, that you have to go in and do it manually again and set it live again, or something like that. Maybe not GDPR, however many letters there are. But yeah, I think it's something to do with that. But then, and finally, Andrew had over 200 items not listed when he moved into the warehouse, nearly 10% of his store. Crazy. Yeah. It makes me really feel like I need to do a stock take. And
when I'm on Vinted, the amount. So this is my laziness kicking in, right? If something sells on Vinted, I instantly go to eBay and take it off eBay. When something sells on eBay, I leave it on Vinted because I don't care, and then I deal with it when I have. So if someone buys the item, I just cancel the order, and I get so many messages going, "Why did you cancel my order? Why did you cancel my order?" And I have to ignore them. But I'm just so lazy. So I have like 1,600 items listed on Vinted, but I've only got like 1,300 on eBay. And there's so many items that are on Vinted. I'm just too lazy to go and change it all.
That's a lot due to zip sell for the most part. Well, I use it because originally when I used to use zip sell, like back in the day when it first like Vinted started getting talked about, I used a crosslist Depop, I used a crosslist Vinted, and after Ziptail would like disconnect, and then that would stop the auto delisting, and sometimes it's broken. And then when I stopped using it, I just left it. And there was loads of stuff on Vinted that just sat there that had sold on eBay that I just never got to. And it still is there now, I'm pretty sure. But
with Zip Sale, so at the end of, so basically you get like, I use code luxury for the luxury pickers.
Ooh.
But I basically make a new email, put it into Zip Sale, put the luxury code, promo code in, and I get unlimited for a month. And in that month, they do sometimes unlist from each other. But then when that month's finished, I make a new email and then start the process again. So
yours is going to be messed up, yeah.
So then instantly, anything that sells again in the new section, it's just long. So so that's why I manually go in and do the eBay ones and then just forget about the Vinted one because who cares?
Nice. All right, there we go. I mean, definitely, I felt like we could have talked even longer.
Yeah, I was going to say we could have gone for another 25, 30 minutes, I reckon, there. But I think that's a good place to.
Interesting. Thank you very much, people. I hope we all sort our dead items out, our dead stores, whatever it may be.
So next Saturday is mine and next Friday is yours, right?
So next Monday.
So next Monday we will actually have a brief section. It might not be the topic of it might be the topic of the podcast. Who knows?
Depends how well it went. Maybe we don't want to talk about it at all.
We probably won't. But maybe on Monday we'll talk about how we felt the auctions went, and we'll also revisit Benji's Vinted section to see whether he's made any sales on Vinted, if he's sending out a few more offers and stuff, and maybe we'll revisit it a little bit, or at least towards the end. I think that'll be interesting.
Got to. Lovely. Enjoy, people. Have a good week.
Get your old stock cold. Get it gone. Get rid of it.
Sell it all. Play outro. Hell yeah.